Well, this just in, 93% of us are losing out. That is how many households' net worth declined between 2009 and 2011. I'm told it could have been even worse if we didn't get the meager recovery we did, which really makes me worry, Scottie and Hughes, if that's the best argument we can make. What do you think of that?
I'm sitting there going, recovery? Who got a recovery? I would like to have their names and numbers. Oh, they must be someone that's connected to Washington, because that's the only city in the country that's really not feeling a true crunch like everyone else.
By the way, they've just responded they would like your number. But Dee Dee, what do you make of that? That all of a sudden, you know, we've realized that much of the bemoaning of this White House has been to improve the wealth gap, and it looks like the wealth gap has widened all the more.
Yeah, of course, it's the middle class that are suffering here. And, you know, as far as the rich...
But they seem to suffer under Republican and Democratic presidents alike.
More so. More so under the Obama administration.
Well, no, you can draw lines of distinction, but I think the only line that I draw is that whether it's worse for one or the other, it's still widening through both.
It is. And as far as the rich being picked on, I mean, these are the folks that are investing, and that's why they are doing well, because they take their money and invest it where other folks are going to buy the $200 tennis shoes, and they're going to buy these things that perhaps they can or cannot afford, and, you know, let the chips fall where they may on that. But I don't think the rich
I disagree.
Okay, the rich should not be penalized because they've worked hard, they've earned it, and they make more money because they've made smart investments. I don't think that's a bad thing.
What do you think of that?
This should come as a surprise to absolutely nobody.
You don't agree with either one of us.
And by the way, I can tell you who's enjoyed the recovery.
Because we're doing a segment on it.
I can tell you who's enjoyed the recovery, you know, responding to Scottie.
You.
The corporations who have seen record profits every quarter for the past 2 years. What we also see, though, is that none of that money is making it into the pockets of the middle and lower classes.
And why do you think that is? Why don't you think those guys making all these profits are pouring it back into expanding? Because maybe they're nervous.
Because the word free market has become code for greed.
Get away from the greed. I always hear this argument a lot. If you have, you're printing money, right? Then why aren't they expanding plant and equipment? Why are they sitting on piles of cash? They're whole companies. You would think in this environment they would do the kind of things.
Think about where the profits are coming from. As our friend Charles Payne will tell you.
Cuts.
They're making, a
lot of cuts.
Cuts at first. And Charles will back me up on this. We've had this conversation. Cuts at first, no more. Now it's coming from overseas sales, not the places we always look, like Europe. Forget Europe. They're selling it in Indonesia.
You don't think the fact that they're penalized here pays any part?
No. Okay. They're making a lot of money overseas.
All right, Scottie, it's all the rich guys' fault. What do you think?
At least they're not blaming Bush. Oh, wait a minute, he is a rich guy, too. It's funny you mentioned printing money, because you have, I think you have Bernanke with his Xerox machine literally printing dollars in his office right now. And they're as false as this wonderful economy that the Obama administration sells us whenever they need to sell us a new economic plan.
Then what do you make of Rick's point that if it is so bad, these Wall Street guys are having a nice ride? I mean, we've been running record after record.
But that's the key. The only people that are having a nicer ride are those in the government. We're seeing the emergence of two different classes now. We are seeing those that are political and those that are not. That's the two classes of economy right now.
This chasm, whatever you want to call it, isn't going to improve anytime soon.
Yeah, I'm not going to disagree with that. The Washington, D.C. is absolutely, it's corrupt, it's dysfunctional, it's terrible, and there's too much money there. It's definitely fat, not good. But going back to what Rick said, which I think is blasphemy, you cannot say free. Yeah, you cannot say free.
You know, it's so amazing. Like 30 minutes ago, I had brokered a peace agreement between the two.
Done.
And it's all dissolved.
It's all gone.
Free market is good.
Middle East all over.
Pro-business, free market, jobs. We go back to what our first segment was. The problem is we don't have enough jobs and the economy is bad. So, you know, that's, you know.
So how do you correct that? The argument this administration has been making, well, you take more in tax money out of the rich to sort of even the pie.
That's the problem. You have to look at these numbers.
They're taking tax money from everyone. That's the problem. He lied. They said, oh, it's just going to be tax
Scottie,
rich
you
and tax
think that's
everybody.
not the way to do it? Bring the top down to make the middle go up.
Well, that's the thing. You just looked at it. I think they just came out with a new poll that 80% of Americans believe that in order to improve the economy does not mean by raising taxes. Cut taxes. I mean, that's what we saw in January when all those taxes expired and we got the additional payroll taxes. No wonder why our household incomes are going down. And what we're not counting in inflation.
What do you make of that link?
You know what? When did the payroll tax increase kick in? I don't think that's a big part of the statistics here. I'm not saying I
love taxes.
Oh,
My
wait, I'm not
taxes
saying
went
I love
up.
the
I
fact
paid a
that-
lot more this year.
I'm not saying that I love the fact that the payroll
She's saying
taxes
that
went
it
up.
would continue. It's probably continuing.
But study after study, listen, I wish it were true. I don't know why people think that we don't want this. I wish you could lower taxes and get a better economy. Wouldn't that be awesome?
It has happened.
I would
That's
love
what
it.
happened.
It has
It
happened.
really happened.
It happened under Ronald Reagan.
No, it actually
Exactly.
didn't.
Yeah, all right. So
Oh,
It didn't.
do you
I
argue that
wish
the
it
tax
did.
cuts that George Bush brought early
I'm
on in
not-
a recession,
Yes.
that
Well, look what
mitigated?
happened.
No, wait a minute. We also had this little thing called 9/11, by the way,
Yeah.
and an implosion in the internet. Leaving that aside, will you argue that giving people more of their money than Washington their money helps improve money overall?
I wish it did, honestly.
It does.
It's
It
not
does.
being for
Where does it
taxes.
go,
And by the way,
Rick?
I'm not.
The worst thing you do in an economy
let me
is raise
finish the point.
taxes.
Let me finish the point.
Because we're
I
not
am
firing on all
arguing-
cylinders now.
I'm not arguing that raising taxes improves an economy. That's not what I'm saying. I'm simply saying
You're
that
arguing
we
that
know
lowering
that
doesn't
it
help.
doesn't seem to have an impact on it.
You're a lawyer, right?
Yeah, and you
Okay,
know
'cause I
why?
can't understand
Because
a word
where
you're
does
saying.
that-
Exactly.
where
'Cause
does
he
that-
likes
'cause
to
I have lawyers
argue.
on.
I see.
Where does that money go?
have
It
to
goes
cut
into
spending.
people's pockets. They don't spend it on other
Drastically
things.
cut spending.
All right.
That's
Well, the
problem.
bottom line is, guys, the chasm continues, and through Republican presidents, Democratic presidents, they can each point fingers at each other. But the bottom line is, the rich are getting richer, the poor are getting poorer, and we're not solving anything. Tomorrow, I'm going to try all over again.